Well, welcome back to the Morning Report. In part one, we traced Nigeria's bloody beginnings. From 1966, the anti-Igbo pogroms and the Biafra famine that starved more than 1 million children, to the riots and the state massacres in the 1980s and 90s. Now we turn to the new century. Nigeria had returned to democracy. But instead of peace, a new chapter of ethnic cleansing opened up. Boko Haram, ISWAP, the Fulani militias, priests were executed on the roadside, villages were burned to the ground. This is the story of how the killing not only continued, but actually escalated. Okay. Now, in 1999, it was supposed to be a new dawn. Nigeria swore in a democratically elected president. Okay. The world cheered. Nigerians celebrated. But within months, violence was back. In the north, a dozen states adopted Sharia law, setting off riots. The most infamous came in Kaduna in the year 2000, where protest over Sharia turned into a bloodbath. Mosques and churches were burned. Neighbors turned on neighbors. By the time soldiers restored order, more than 2,000 people were dead. For Christians, the message was plain. Democracy had changed the government, but not the danger. Now, while Kaduna burned, another storm was building in the northeast. The Maduguri, a preacher named Mohammed Yusuf, was telling young men that Western education was evil, that democracy was blasphemy, and that Christians were enemies of God. His followers call themselves Boko Haram, which loosely translates to Western education is forbidden. At first, officials laughed it off as a fringe cult. But poverty, unemployment, and corruption make a fertile ground for Yusuf's message. In 2009, Boko Haram had thousands of followers, thousands. When police killed Yusuf when he was in custody, his movement exploded in open war. In 2010, Christmas Eve, bombs ripped through churches in Jos, killing dozens mid-service. Billy Graham famously said he believed the next move of God would be believers making a difference in the marketplace. In the fall of 2019, Anton Kresic moved to Washington, D.C. And as Anton began his career in the political arena, two things became obvious. Godly principles were lacking on both sides of the aisle, and many organizations were putting profits before people. 7 Weeks Coffee was started to reverse this trend and live out Graham's calling as believers in the marketplace. As a values-based business, 7 Weeks Coffee has a simple and transparent mission. Donate 10%, a tithe, of every sale to pregnancy care centers across the nation. They are committed to earning your trust, not expecting it. So how do they do this? Leading with their values, showing the impact and providing the highest quality product. I am a Christian. I'm conservative. And 7 Weeks Coffee unapologetically supports pregnancy care centers across the nation. Please join us by letting your coffee serve a greater purpose. Oh, eventually, like a lot of these groups do, Boko Haram split. A faction pledged allegiance to the Islamic State that became ISWAP, which stands for Islamic State West Africa Province. Now, ISWAP was less erratic than Boko Haram. It was disciplined, structured, ruthless. Priests were assassinated on their way to Mass. Humanitarian workers were executed on video. We've seen some of that. Attacks timed for Christmas and Easter left blood on the pews. So by the 2020s, ISWAP had taken control of swaths of the Borno state. For Christians in the Northeast, survival meant one thing: leave. While jihadists destroyed the Northeast, another war raged in Nigeria's heartland, the Middle Belt. This is the crossroads of Nigeria where Christian farmers and Muslim Fulani herders had coexisted uneasily for generations. But the desertification shrank grazing lands and populations exploded, and the balance broke. Fulani herder militias, heavily armed and increasingly organized, began staging coordinated raids. Villages attacked at night, houses torched. The men were shot, women raped, children were hacked to death. Survivors chased into displacement camps, never to return. In 2018, international observers warned plainly these raids bore the hallmarks of ethnic cleansing. The toll? Thousands killed each year, millions displaced. In Plateau and Benue, those states, entire Christian communities have entirely vanished. This isn't just clashes. This is slow motion genocide. Now, if you think the killing is slowed, think again. In 2023 and 24, monitors recorded more than 7,000 Christians killed in 1 year. This year, in 2025, Yalwada massacre in Benue, in the Benue state, left between 100 and 200 dead. Villagers were gunned down, homes were burned, and 3,000 people were displaced. In Plateau Mouchere, in that district, Fulani militias killed 6 Christians and torched homes and shops. In Enugu, Father Matthew Aya, that's his name, who was a Catholic priest, was ambushed, his tires shot out, and he was executed by gunmen. This is this year. September, this is this year. Across Benue, that spring, raids killed 40 more, and it was women and kids and the elderly among them. Even priests who were once spared are now prime targets. So between January and September, at least 15 priests were kidnapped. Some were murdered. These aren't accidents. This is cleansing. So why does this keep happening? Because Nigeria's government has failed its most basic duty: to protect its citizens. Security forces arrive late, if they come at all. Arrests are rare. Convictions rarer still. Politicians refuse to name Fulani militias because they're afraid of the backlash. Some survivors even whisper that attackers wear military uniforms or they carry weapons that are far too advanced for just herders. Impunity has become law, and impunity guarantees repetition. Okay, from Sharia riots in 2000 to Boko Haram's terror to ISWAP's assassinations to Fulani's militias burning villages this year in 2025, Nigeria's Christians have lived through a generation of cleansing. The killers change, but the victims don't. This isn't about politics or land disputes. It's about erasure. It's about turning whole regions of Nigeria into Christian graveyards. And until the Nigerian state and the world name it for what it is, the killings will go on. My name is Willie Lawson. This has been the Morning Report. In 2011, Boko Haram bombs the United Nations headquarters in Abuja, killing 23. In 2012, gunmen stormed churches in Kano, and entire congregations are gunned down as they worship. Then came the attack that shocked the world. This is the one that we know about. In April 2014, in Chibok, Boko Haram kidnapped 276 schoolgirls from their dormitories, most of them Christians. Families wept as their daughters vanished into the night. Some were forced into marriages. Some were enslaved. Many were never seen again. Remember the hashtag, Bring Back Our Girls? It made headlines, around the globe. First Lady Michelle Obama standing there holding up a sign, a placard in the White House, Bring Back Our Girls. Like Boko Haram was really paying attention to Michelle Obama. All sorts of people spoke out. But in Nigeria, the girls were still gone. And it's funny that nobody talks about it anymore. It's like it didn't happen. It got memory hold. So by the mid-2010s, Boko Haram had slaughtered tens of thousands. Millions more fled their homes. Whole Christian villages were erased from the map. This was not rebellion. This was a cleansing.